Hey, welcome back to Inside Integration. I'm Chris. I'm joined as always by my partner, Jayson.
What's up, everybody?
And today we're going to talk about a few things here. First of all, Jayson is just back to us after having attended the CEDIA Tech Summit in the Great White North in British Columbia. So, man, how was that?
You know, interesting because, I've been to several Tech Summit shows. I know you have as well, going to we'll say some of the highlights on the tour, Irvine, Woodland Hills, in Southern California. If you've never been to a Tech Summit show, uh,
Yeah.
in either one of those locations, then you're probably missing out on what I think the high watermark is for an
Yeah, those
event.
those are big ones. Those are big
They're
ones.
really well attended. They're in the most dense population, so you're gonna see a ton of integrators come out, and that'll only be like 25% of them, because the rest of them are out there working.
Right.
So again, those ones are always really well attended, but for a small market, like Vancouver, British Columbia is relative to the custom install space, really, really well attended. I
Nice.
didn't get there until probably midday, and it was still, armpits and elbows, bumping around on the floor out there. There was another word I could have used,
Right. Right.
but
Right.
they had quite the arrangement. They had a main ballroom set up with a ton of different vendors in there, your usual suspects, but not all of the majors. Like Sony or Samsung, they were not there, but Epson was there. There were some, there's a projector shootout area. There was a video wall from Just Video Walls in there.
Oh, cool.
Some demo product. Obviously some competitive. Easy for me to say, some competitive brands to us, but Stealth Acoustics, being kind of a local Washington product, was out there. We saw, of course, Origin was out there. So pretty well pretty well supported by the vendors, and very clear that the folks in the westernmost part of Canada that are in the CI space are engaged. I saw reps and dealers that I knew from Alberta that actually flew out or drove out to attend,
Wow.
to support the event. So it's clear that when you pay attention to quote unquote some of the smaller markets, that the guys there that are engaged will definitely show up, and they show up in droves. I had to park in a different hotel parking lot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's how well it was attended. And yeah, they had two separate areas. Got to see some of our friends from CEDIA. Got to see Mark Chakowski, a good friend of mine,
Oh, yeah. Sure.
legendary member of the CI community, certainly in Southern California and
Certainly.
out east, in his former life, right? So yeah, it was great to kind of see how it's done up there. Everybody was very polite, as you'd probably
Of,
expect.
I would imagine. Sure.
And I did not have any poutine, although I threatened to
Oh,
on a previous episode here. But I did get out to Granville Island, and if you've never been to Vancouver, British Columbia before, one of the centerpieces, I would say, of the city is this kind of floating island marketplace area called Granville Island. There's a bunch of different artisans, and there's your kids would love this. There's an entire building that's a giant toy store. So
oh,
two
yeah.
stories
That's
with
sure.
the legacy video game store, and the Chinese tchotchke store, and the what I mean a bunch of stuff that I don't understand store. Like they've got it all in there.
Sure. Sure.
Slides, and I remember being a little kid going there thinking that was pretty cool. But I did go for Granville Island is famous for kind of having like a big market like Pike's Place, here in the Seattle area,
Okay.
where it's literally the best food court that probably exists, at least on the planet Earth, but at least best one I've ever been to. Unbelievable. Like, you just kind of walk out and it's like, oh, all this artisan food that you see available from all these markets, we just buy it and cook it over here. So if you'd like to have some pierogies, or you'd like to have a pizza, or you'd like to have this giant like tomahawk short rib thing that I still like. I'm like, oh, they serve that in a cardboard thing with a lid on it. Huh?
Huh.
That's
Okay.
it's one, but it's like Michelin star level, but it's kind of offset by the delivery method.
Sure. Sure.
So I went for there's a spot there that does pierogies, and sort of like Polish German type food. So they have a little combo there. So the
Nice.
hack is get the double smoked sausage with the two flavors of pierogies. Little sour cream, little sauerkraut. You're doing things.
You're
You're doing
making me
things.
hungry, man. I mean, that kind of reminds me of an idea that we were kicking around for, for some sort of engaging event kind of thing. But there should definitely be some sort of guide on like the Michelin star guide for integrators. So
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, that's definitely a lane that we should be looking at, because I mean, I think there are a lot of people that could contribute to that. You're like, oh, have you been to this place and
yeah,
wherever? Or have you been to
sure.
Austin? Have you been to Denver? Have you been to Vancouver? Like, I've got an afternoon or I've got an evening, and here we are spitballing right on our own episode about what
Right.
we should do on future episodes, or with
Yeah.
another
I
opportunity.
mean, absolutely. It feels like that's a good spot for, Oliver Marketing. We could totally make the Michelin guide for integrators and reps. And it's just basically just highlights of different obscure foods from everywhere. Hey, if you're working in Malibu, there's this little fish taco stand that's fantastic, and it's a quick, like that kind of thing. And yeah, maybe we should look into that. Maybe that's something we should
All
kind
right.
of come
Well,
up with here.
we'll write that down. Write that down.
Yeah, right that down.
we'll,
Jot
we'll,
that down.
we'll, we'll take that note for another episode.
Yeah,
But
there you go. Sure.
on top of my culinary excitement out there, I also got to go and visit our new partners at Lightheaded, and got to do the factory tour there. And factory, I think, is probably a word that's bantied about a little bit. You could draw a lot of different visualizations from that word, but I think in this case, they really do have like guys in the back with a wet saw, and they've made the investments in the CNC machines. They've got raw bars of aluminum coming in the back door, and they're milling out the housings for the outdoor lights, and the they're making the metal. They're using the CNC machine to make the
Sure.
finishes for the individual bezels. They've got a 3D printer to rapid prototype different finishes and looks. And man, while not a giant company like a Lutron or what have you, these guys don't put anything out that doesn't pass UL testing, temperature testing, torture testing, hot, cold, what have you.
Right.
They're very proud of the fact that they've got a less than 1% return rate since the
Since
inception
the beginning.
of the
Yeah, yeah, we
company.
we heard that on a call the other day, and it just kind of blew my mind. Is like they've been around for a long time, and a less than a 1% return rate on some kind of manufacturer's defect is pretty amazing. And just to kind of buttress that a little bit, the fact that they have all the testing stuff inside. I mean, that was something that we saw at Elemental too, where they're literally doing hot torture testing, water testing and that kind of thing. The fact that they're doing that all in house is pretty cool. It really lets them rapidly get stuff out there. So that's very cool.
Yeah, I got to look in their kind of candy shop, I guess, if you will. They've got a room set up where they've got all the different finishes and minimalist, and they've got Opus and Opus Eco, and they've got these, the outdoor LED pendant lights. They've got some really, you know, cool products, some cool finishes, some unique applications that you can do. I mean, I thought like the minimalist, which is like a 1 inch
Yeah,
square
the
mini
little
LED thing, was
little
like
point.
really cool, and they have that as like just a one. So like if you want to just make like a little starry point in the ceiling, like a light, for something on the wall or something like that, or just accent lighting, you can do that. Oh, would you like that in RGB or
Right.
tunable white? Well, we can do that too. And then they've also got it where you can set them up in like grids. So I think we'll probably see that on some of the Oliver socials out
Yeah, you'll
there,
see
but
that on the socials for sure.
some of the pictures, but like the minimalist on a pendant. So you got this square pendant that you can hang from a ceiling that's got these four little 1 inch LEDs in it for some aesthetic choices that you can make that are really cool and will, I think, frankly, last and stand up for a long, long time. They've got some really great options. So I know I'm kind of fawning all over them and focusing on one thing, but like I got to look at the machinery. I got to look at probably a couple $1 million worth of inventory just in the building, ready to get made into something. They've got boxes. They've got
Yep.
photometry lab. I got to see some products I'm not allowed to talk about yet. But we'll say for the retrofit market and for the guys that want to do any light can be any color I want it to be, we'll just leave it at that. There are some really great new products that we should be expecting to see from these guys here in September. That'll be, I think, a huge boon to their business and again,
Yeah.
hopefully to us and to our integrators out there. They're doing lighting.
Yeah, they're gonna be a pretty reasonably decently sized presence at CEDIA this year for sure, and it'll be that for a lighting company that's great. Being able to demo your stuff, being able to for a dealer, being able to see it and touch it and get it in your hands and that kind of thing. That's great. And to see it all at CEDIA in a couple of months or whatever is great. But we also have demo kits, which Jayson, you're trotting around with a couple of those at this point, right? So
Yeah, I do have the kit for the Opus and the Opus Eco, excuse me, which pardon me. If you're not familiar with their product line, check out lightheadedlighting.com. You can go to the website and get a look at some of the options, but their Opus Eco is essentially that 2 inch round light in the ceiling that you want it to be a square, you want it to be round, you want it to be angled, you want it to
right.
be different colors,
Yeah,
whatever you
lens
want it to
options,
do.
angle options,
It's
finish
it's their
options. Hmm.
exactly. It's their bread and butter piece, and we've actually had a few guys bid with this product and be successful when the clients see what the fit and finish looks like relative to the price. You're talking, 100-ish, $200 maybe a fixture. That's
Yeah,
pretty reasonable
it's
when you
right
look
in
at
line for sure.
when you look at what low voltage lighting can cost out there, and still gives you a ton of the same benefits. So it's nice to have a product like that in our
Yeah,
belt, right?
they're great, and I mean, so far, we've been on board with them for about a month. They've been super responsive. They've been super into helping out dealers and helping everybody. They really kind of live up to, their slogan, right? Like they're obsessed with helping, and man, they've shown it.
Yeah.
It's been great so far.
I got to meet the founder and the main, the VP of sales there, the president of sales. I'm not exactly sure what both of their titles were. I know who the main guy was, and I know who the other main guy was, right? So,
Sure.
and it's clear that they're not messing around. Like even through all of the polite banter and the conversation, you're talking to some guys that are really trying to move the needle and move their company into a space that I think is got a lot of room to run in low voltage lighting,
Yep.
with drivers and stuff inside, as we see more firms merge together and electrical contractors working with low voltage contractors, or maybe they're the same thing.
Hmm.
I think it opens the door up to get integrators into those conversations about, hey, where are we going to put the lights and stuff in this house, and what do
Yeah.
those need to look like? And oh,
It,
by the way, I can sell you some sound and some TV too.
it just gets you into the project early. Like if you can position yourself as somebody who knows a little bit about lighting design and that kind of thing, and even better if you walk in with a lighting plan and are equipped to do that, like that just gets you into this project right at the beginning. And man, most electricians I talk to, they don't really care about selling fixtures. They don't really care too much about the aesthetic side of it.
because
If you
because
can
it's
be that
flat.
guy,
There's no
yeah,
money in that. It's a commodity
exactly.
at that level at
Right.
$35 a can or whatever, right? So if you
Yep.
can't sell the value of, hey, wouldn't it be cool if that was like a little square, or wouldn't it be nice if you could on the fly decide, hey, instead of having these lights shine down on the floor, I'd like them to light on the wall or shine over in this direction or what
Yep.
have you. I think that's a value conversation you can have with any client where they go, oh, yeah, that would be better than just a stupid bulb up there in the ceiling, right?
Yeah, 4 inch, sure, 4 inch round cans. No, no, we can do so much
Yeah,
better, right?
we can do a lot better.
Highlight your artwork, make sure that everything is looking exactly the way it is supposed to look, and by intent, and change your color temperature and all these good things. And there's circadian benefits to it too, right? Like there's definitely wellness benefits of having tunable fixtures in the right spots and that kind of thing. And it's a brave
More
new world.
efficient.
Yeah.
More efficient with electricity. It looks better.
Yep.
It's got a little style to it. You don't ever have to put a different bulb in it. Like there's a ton of different reasons to look at these options and to incorporate this into your business. Like just straight up.
Yep. Absolutely. And as we kind of talked about last episode, that was that was a big focus of that CE Pro Top 100 list. Is, man, there's a lot of guys on that list that are doing fixtures now, that are getting into it. And
Makes perfect sense.
the tools are there, right? If you're already doing a lighting system, you might as well specify the fixtures, because you're closing the loop on what's going to work together.
Oh, speaking of which, I should send you this link. One of our partners at Y Appliance just did a big house
Oh, yeah.
with a bunch of linear fixtures and stuff. And of course, they're awesome about creating content. So yeah, I'll send you the link here now that I'm thinking about it. If we can put that in our chat or in our episode description, so they can get a little love, but
Totally.
see what these projects look like and what success in mixing and matching disciplines can really look like. Lee and his team are, some of the best in the country, and certainly, some of the most developed integrators that I work with. And they're all about maximizing every opportunity, and they execute. It's great looking stuff.
Is that the apartment in Seattle? Is that the one that you're talking about, or is that a different one?
No, there's a brand new one that they just dropped. So
Cool.
of course they've got a bunch of Sony TVs in there. I think this one's like in Edmonds, Washington.
Okay, gotcha.
So I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think all of the lighting product in there, unfortunately, is stuff that we represent, but that doesn't really matter. I think it's really more about the concept. And again, if you're modeling what success looks like in this space or where you're trying to get to, Lee's been successful. Lee's
Yep.
a great blueprint for what what other integrators could be doing
It's true.
to make that their business.
So yeah, and that's, I mean, yeah, man, we have flogged the lighting horse.
Oh yeah, well I think it's a big one, and we of course we love our partners at Sony. We love our partners at Sony, so we want
course.
sound and video. The lights are just kind of a given. So if that's a foundational layer to a home, wouldn't it be nice to just be attached to the foundation?
Yep.
That's kind of how I look at it anyway.
Nah, completely. But yeah. So other exciting news. We've got a new team member who's coming on board for the Portland area and surroundings, and long overdue. I mean, I don't, he's got some big shoes to fill. We're little teeny tiny shoes, depending on how far back you go.
How what size shoe does Mike D wear? Like that's a good question. Are they baby shoes? Are we talking? Is he at Journey's Kids or is he at regular Journeys? I'm just teasing.
Nothing. Come on, man. Nothing but love for that guy. That guy's awesome.
I'm teasing, and it's out of love. It's out of love. Come on.
Yeah, but no, a gentleman named Jesse Paule is starting with us in a couple of weeks, and yeah, man, we are super stoked to have him on board. Jayson, you spent a day with him yesterday, so what?
Yeah, well,
trash him.
Yeah, damn the torpedoes.
Yeah, let's go.
I know. I know that I know that we're going to have him on here because Jesse is a legacy guy. He's an industry veteran. He's been around the space for a long time. Lives in Portland, so it's going to be familiar with all of the dealers in that market. But comes at it from being a former branch manager at a Snap location. So, or all that conversation and all those relationships that you managed to build up over time working in a place like that, in an environment like that, to be able to bring that to our team and to leverage all of those, hey, I already know this, guys, is we'll say it's a pretty it's a pretty major win, I think, for us, and a major win for me personally, because all of the dealers that I would love to be able to interact with on a regular basis, on a daily basis, I just physically can't be everywhere that I need to be to have that be a reality. And at least have a family, like if I lived in a hotel every night of the week, and I didn't have to come home and see anybody or walk a dog ever, then I could probably live out my life on the road comfortably. But that not being the case, I'm extremely excited to have Jesse coming on the team, leverage what he already knows about our industry, and also the relationships that he's already got. Like that is such a key factor to success in this business and in the industry in general. Uh, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think, Jesse's probably going to ring all that stuff out pretty well.
Yeah, and from what I know about him, he's just a general decent guy, like just a good dude, salt of the earth. He's from this as a background. He understands the plight of the custom installer. you know,
Yeah,
he's
well,
he's
and
that
he's got
guy.
a great story. From Alaska. Like, what is it about Alaska? We got a bunch of guys that are tied to Alaska on the show,
It's true.
but I just had that realization right now. But yeah, it's exciting to have somebody that's been around. He actually has worked for Oliver Marketing in the past, so he's one of those guys that's kind of come up through the ranks of, I was a warehouse guy, but also an industry, a tech guy, like into it as on top of selling it, right?
Sure.
And working on it, and then to go from that to running a branch to running a crew of people. I mean, the guy talks about leadership kind of in the third person, so that he's been in that role before, right? Like, he's had
Yeah.
people looking to him and coming to him for solutions and to get stuff done, and that is again music to my ears, shall we say?
Well,
Because it's
yeah.
again, it's just been a lot to manage as one guy, and to have some extra set of arms and capable ones out there. I think is going to be great.
Yeah, and that's I mean that's exactly what you want. You want a guy who if you're a dealer, you want your rep to be somebody who's been in the trenches, who understands what you're going through, who can help you work through a situation, and it's just coming from when they're recommending products, they're just coming from a place of authenticity, right? Like you want the authentic experience. You don't want just some dude who's just kind of there, sell this, sell that. No, that's not how this game works, or at least that's not how we try to do things here. You know, but yeah, that's pretty great. We'll have Jesse on a show at some point in the future. His just to for viewers of the video part of this thing, his beard is epic. It puts mine and
So
Jayson.
much better
I
than
mean, it
mine.
truly just a thing to behold. And
I would pull mine all out before I got it to that long. That's my problem. I'd be sitting there petting it
oh,
and
totally,
talking to it and washing it. It'd be a whole thing. That's all I would ever do. So I have
absolutely.
enough. I keep it at a tight level, and try to manage it from that perspective.
Yep, 100%. But yeah, and that's Jesse is going to do great, and we are very excited to have him. I mean that whole Portland market and that whole Eastern Oregon and all of that area. There's so much great stuff going on down there, and we need to get somebody in that territory, and now we do. Exciting.
Yeah, a new somebody, right? Just less of me, more Jesse.
A
I
new
think that's
somebody. Exactly. Exactly.
absolutely some fresh meat for the grinder. Ah, yeah.
That's the subtext of the last 5 minutes of the conversation. It's like, oh, here you go.
We're gonna get you out there now. And again, all jokes aside,
Yep.
that's a quality addition to our team. We're excited to have him on board. He's again a Portland guy. It's funny. I was thinking about Portland, and maybe we talked about this on an earlier episode, or a little inside integration. Um,
A little inside
we
baseball and inside
Yeah,
integration.
exactly.
There you go.
I took my kids to Portland to go see No Effects over the weekend, which again is probably a dubious parenting choice. Depending on who you ask,
Come
but
on.
man, to go to an outdoor festival in downtown Portland on a beautiful summer day where I think the high was like 83. had a little bit of rain, had a ton of weird people dressed up in weird outfits. Some bold fashion choices were made, and to watch my kids sort of take in the cultural ride that is 50 something punk rockers still on tour
There you go.
was pretty fun, and that whole vibe of get out there and make it happen and DIY, kind of reminded me of what we're doing here. So I don't know what you're doing with your kids for this summer. Maybe you're not taking them to punk rock shows or anything. But if you get a chance,
Sure.
my advice to you is, if you got kids that are at a formative age, mine are 14 and 13, it was a fantastic way to spend an afternoon and watch them just sort of process. The kids that walked in there were not the kids that walked out of there, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Changed
And we got
forever,
to,
right?
yeah, we got to see our buddies, to tie this into industry stuff. We got to see our guys, Sean Sorrelson from Infinite in Boise, Idaho. His wife owns Punk Rock Pottery. I think we talked about that on here. They had a big display set up, and great to talk to him and take it all in. So if you don't know who Sean is, we've got a very early episode of the podcast where he
Yeah.
came on with us and talked to us about what they're doing out there at Infinite. So great to catch up with him, meet his wife, meet his daughter. Got to see a guy dressed like Jesus come through the punk rock pottery booth and bless some pots and pans. I didn't know, I guess I should have known Jesus was into pottery, but
Yeah.
you know,
It was all
white
pottery,
robe,
all
white
pottery
robe
back
and the
then.
sash and the whole deal, man. So when I say some bold fashion choices, there were some out
He,
there.
he, he came through, blessed the pottery, and then 3 days later he was back, right?
Yeah, right. Well, he definitely, they moved a stone to get him out of
There
there.
you
So
go. That's
that's
it.
kind of how that works.
Which brings us back to pottery.
Right, exactly.
So,
So I don't know what that has to do with inside integration, but I just figured I'd
eh,
throw that out there because it's a little color, a little inside baseball with us and kind of what
yeah,
we're up
and
to.
we're gonna. I mean, Sean is awesome. We're gonna have Sean back on at some point or another just to kind of shoot it with us.
Oh
And
boy.
he's awesome. He's just a
He's
great
doing
dude.
he's doing 31 days of Vans or whatever. So like he's got so many pairs of Vans that every day of the month
There you
this
go.
year, or every day of the month he's posting like a new picture of a pair of like Vans, whether they're classics, whether they're some obscure, like
There you go.
you start to scratch away at the paint a little bit, and you're like, all right, you're everybody's got their little inside nerd, and Vans is a good thing to be an inside nerd about, at least in
It's
my
true.
opinion.
I mean, hey, they're based right here. It's everybody. Literally everybody has a 3-4 pairs of. Yeah, that's
Oh,
that's how they roll
I
down
have
here.
I have two in my lineup right now, so
There you
I
go.
know what you mean. I
Everybody's
know
got
what you
their
mean.
Forbo vans and their vans that they've had for 15 years that don't want to be in public in. But yeah,
No.
absolutely. So any other stuff? I mean, we also just had the Josh AI First Friday last week, just to kind of steer this way back towards
Oh man, what do you
integration
want to talk
stuff.
about? Podcast stuff? You don't want to just BS about
I
what's
you
going on
know
in our lives? Come
I
on.
mean, part of what I do is try and keep this thing on a rail. So I
Whatever,
never
dude.
never works out. But
That's
yeah,
why
man.
you're really the glue that keeps this thing together. I just show up like a freaking bull in a china shop and just stomp around with no idea what we're doing, just like go. And then you're like, okay, I've got all this planned out. That's why Barlow and Savage,
Oh,
attorneys at law,
don't
make a
don't
good team.
do not tell people I have this planned out because it's not. We do show prep 5 minutes before we start recording.
Listen, I was just trying to glow you up a little bit. You
I
just shot all
appreciate
that to
that.
shit. So good
It's
job.
well, usually like 10 seconds before me and you jump on this thing together, I'm usually like doing some flyer for 12 volt or I'm doing some whatever, and yeah, it all just kind of ding, here we go, let's go. And then
Yep.
I'll spend the next hour editing, which it doesn't seem like I do because hey, and yeah,
Right.
that's how we roll. But Josh, First Friday, got a little bit more information about the little handheld remote that's probably going to be the darling of CEDIA if I'm predicting this correctly. Not all, can't, there's certain things, I think that we know that we can't say, but there's enough stuff that's come out. I mean, this is like to have a hard button remote come from a control system manufacturer is massive. Like, I feel like I have been asking for this stupid thing from every company for the last 10 years. And
Right.
man, this one is dope.
Well, I think, I don't think I mean, it's a crowd-funded thing, right? So
Yep.
I don't think it's a major secret that they've been working on this extra option. They've been talking about it, but yeah, I think for the client that is, again, they want to do minimalist technology in their home, but they clearly need it, based on the needs of the home, lighting control, temperature, whatever that looks like. Obviously, AV. Josh has really positioned themselves in a really cool niche. So much so that some of the stalwarts in the channel have tried to mimic them with the addition of their own AI support
Yep.
type of stuff, right?
Yep.
So
Saw that one came out. Yep.
yeah, so that's and if you don't know who we're talking about, I mean, we represent them in Northern California, so I don't think we're talking out of school here.
Yep.
But URC, obviously seeing the writing on the wall, watching some consolidation, has added AI support for integrators as well as end users. Like, hey, this isn't working. Can you help me?
Yeah.
I think it's very clear that Josh has made has made an impact on the space, and again, for the client that's, look, I want minimal interface. I just want something that I can grab and pick up and manage the TV, manage the audio in the room, what have you. Maybe I can use voice, or I can use a touch screen or an app
Yeah. Yep.
to manage the rest of it.
I mean, I think a lot of
Josh is
it.
positioned for that really well.
I think a lot of the reason for this product is that it kind of represents a little bit of a shift, right? For years and years and years, it was video distribution, and that was the thing, right? You have 8 cable boxes in a basement. You'd be distributing them out to every TV. Every home member has their own cable box and source and that kind of thing. And that's
Channel vision, let's modulate.
Well, yeah, let's not modulate. No, no, no. Yeah, the TV needs to be on channel 86. No, we're not going to go back to those days ever. But it's kind of a shift away from, video distribution a little bit, and video distribution has its place. Like, there's a lot of cool things like tiling and centralized sources and that kind of thing. That's super important.
Kaleidoscape is an investment,
Certainly.
right? And maybe you'd like to have that in every room, but you don't want to have a little player in every room. So video
certainly.
Distribution absolutely makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. But now, there's a lot of folks that it is, their TV watching is all from an Apple TV, or, they're in the Roku camp, or they're the Apple TV camp, and you don't see a lot of hard disk, a lot of physical disc players and that kind of thing. And maybe that's what's, in the theater or wherever. But, a small remote like this, that's very simple, that is out there to control a television that's got an Apple TV Velcro to the back of the thing, and, ties in with the whole rest of the house, and can do lighting and that kind of thing. This is a very welcome thing in this market. And the fact that it is, it's machined, it's small, it's got a, it charges wirelessly when you put the thing on the base, and there's a button on the base that makes that sucker beep when you can't find it. Like, that is killer. I mean, it feels like that's what so many integrators have been asking for. I mean, I know I have personally, for years and years and years, like, hey, we don't really need a screen on this thing, and this remote doesn't need to be that big. It could be a little bit bigger than an Apple remote, but it needs to have configurable buttons. You need to be able to recall scenes on it. And that's this Josh Edge remote. That's what this thing has. And, man, I think a lot of guys are going to go crazy for it when they see it at CEDIA, and when this thing is out in the wild. It's going to be pretty dope.
Yeah. Again, we got a chance to, get a look at the mock-up. I've already said this, but I feel like it definitely fits into the space where, I don't want touch screens on the wall forever. I don't want to have a touch panel mudded in. I don't want any of those things. I would, my significant other would would absolutely, parrot everything that I just said, because I don't want my home dated by a specific keypad technology. The old Newtone systems from the 70s and 80s that are still out there are proof positive to the thing I'm talking about, right? Like,
sure.
I don't want to have solid core wire feeding high fidelity audio
right
around my house to a wall station. So
right, Roger that. Right.
It's nice to clean it all up. So I think that's where Josh is positioned, is to really clean technology up, really bring probably some older homes into the future.
Sure.
And of course, be right in line with what's going on today and tomorrow and probably 5 years from now.
Yeah, and that's, the edge was one thing that they mentioned on the call. The other thing that, again, I'm not exactly certain how much I should be talking about this, but there was a little bit of mention of something called Josh AIOS, which is, something they're moving forward with this thing, and that's basically what they're going to start calling their operating system that Josh runs on. And there were a couple really cool demos of things like AI analytics of camera streams. And hey, Josh, what's going on in this room? Well, there's a person standing there, and he's holding his phone up because he's taking a picture or whatever. Like, that's the sort of thing. What makes me so excited about Josh is that they seem to be really pushing the envelope as far as this stuff goes. Like, could you imagine? And this was not, let me make sure I'm clear here, that like, this was not promised on a call. This was not anything that anybody's talked about, but
Right.
to be able to, somebody comes to your door, they ring your 2N door station, right? It, chimes through your home, you're sitting on your couch, to be able to say, hey, Josh, who's at the door? And now Josh is analyzing the camera stream that's coming from your thing and running up against a database of people who are in there and can tell you who's at the door. Dude, that's the sort of thing that is really going to push home automation in the custom integrator space forward. That kind of stuff. And, hey, I just let my dog out, right? Hey, is the dog done pooping yet? Right? Like, that's that's the sort of thing.
Where did the dog poop?
Right? Like, here's, we have, I mean, it kind of represents a little bit of a convergence, right? So Josh is utilizing its own software, and it's leaning a little bit towards, the AI stuff to be able to, do recognition and that kind of thing. We already have video streams in the home. We already have, you have Josh microphones where you need it to really bring in like a full age of home automation. These things all kind of need to come together. And man, I don't know if there's anybody who's doing that more, at least at this point, than Josh is, and really sort of pushing these kind of things, man.
Or
it's
even
cool.
thinking that way.
Right.
Even looking at the space, like, maybe I am a high net worth individual and I do have a database of people that are coming and going from my house. And again, we're talking about vaporware right now, right? But
Yeah, no, this is all
in terms
theoretical.
of
Yeah.
thinking from that perspective shows you where Josh is going with this. Obviously, there's probably some people out there that freak out about privacy, and I don't want to be on a list. I'm Gen X. I don't want to be on a list.
Sure.
But I don't want to do team sports. But that's just my age group, right? Like,
Sure,
I'm all about the individual thing. But again, I can imagine being. I mean, I would love to be wealthy enough where I'm monitoring who's has access to my home. And I want to know who's outside for security reasons, that kind of stuff. Very clearly there's a lane for high net worth, for protection, and for the everyman. I mean, these are things that are not going to be just solely for the skybox seats. Josh makes a lot of this capability available at just about every price point.
And that is one of the killer things, is that this sort of, the scene analytics and that kind of thing, it's very scalable, and it's scalable up and it's scalable down, right? Like, so if your system is, one microphone and a core, or, it's a lot smaller than that, but you have securities in your home. Yeah. Like that, those sort of features are available, right? Like there's, this is kind of baked into the OS, and, man, it's exciting, because we've been talking about home automation for so long. And yeah, there's a lot of home automation, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that is home automation. Press a button and it does a thing, and all that stuff is automated. But to be able to analyze a scene, like the way that they showed this demo on the call, there are so many things that just kind of leapt to mind immediately that become possible with this, that it's true home automation. Like this is the reason that you don't necessarily want to get into a world where there's 16 different apps on your phone that control different facets of your house, right? Here's your argument case for having everything unified under one control system umbrella. And man, I am here for it. I cannot wait to see what they come out with next. It's exciting.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's probably going to be a flying car, because they've got the AI and integration situation on lock. All seriousness. Yeah, I don't know I don't know what the next surprise is that's going to be popping out of the box here, but Alex and Tim and the guys at Josh AI are dedicated to breaking new ground, and it's very clear, evidenced by what we're just talking about here. They're looking at the space and thinking about the space in a completely different way, that I think is gonna, we're gonna see a lot of those changes, and the industry at large kind of move in that direction. I've already talked about what other companies are doing with AI support, et cetera, and it's clear they've made a ripple in the water, as they say.
Yeah, and I mean, the AI is the buzzword in every industry right now, right? Like you scroll through LinkedIn and there are companies that are touting that they use AI that you would never that they probably, don't. It's a buzzword, right? But like in a home automation space, in something that's that personal to you to be able to, like Josh does, right? So context aware, scene programming where you're telling it like, hey, when I press, you're literally saying this to your system. You know, when I press this button or at 9 o'clock in the morning, I want this to happen and this to happen and this to happen and this to happen. That's where the magic is, man. It's truly, that's where the magic is.
Well, I love the idea, like when we went in to Denver, and he's like, you can just set a conditional for, fireplace control and temperature control. Hey, hey Josh, anytime the temperature is below 50 degrees, I want the fireplace on, and I want to have the house set to, 65 degrees or whatever the ambient temperature I'd like to have it be in the home around the house.
Yep.
And that's it. There's your conditional.
Done.
You're not creating
Scene
a calendar.
programmed.
You're not creating a bunch of if else or statements. You're not thinking through the logic of, okay, I have to think about how do I talk to this sensor and get it to have this action item happen or this toggle happen. It's just, hey, knucklehead, if it does this, I want that to happen.
Yep.
How's that work? Beautiful. Okay,
100%.
on to the next one. Hey, when it's summertime, I'd want to make sure that the shades are always dropped at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yep.
End of program. Right?
I might be, and I'll kind of close it up on this because we're definitely running against the time wall here. But like, I'll close it up on this. Okay. We got as much time as you want, really. But
no. Well,
I have a day job.
I know we try to keep it tight.
So do you.
What's that? Oh, you have a day job? What
as do you.
Oh, I do.
You're looking at it. You're literally looking at.
That's right.
I am the AI in this situation. Maybe without the eye, but yeah, for me, I'm cynical, man. I've seen this so many times. I started out programming Crestron a long time ago, and through Savant and ATI, and all these other things, and what Josh is doing is really exciting. Like it's easy to get, it's easy to walk through CEDIA and it's like, okay, here's more speakers and here's more of this, and even like lighting fixtures, like, yeah, it's lighting, it's great. Yep. There's a great business case for it and everything else, but man, when you look at some of the stuff Josh is is doing and coming out with, bro, it's exciting.
It's high touch point, high excitement. I agree 100%.
Changing the industry.
Happy to be connected with those guys and working on putting together an event for them up here, a training event up here in the Pacific Northwest. So,
well, and
I know I keep
key.
writing checks on these episodes, but it's actually, we're cashing this one. It's really going to happen.
Yeah, and when that does happen, we will have all the information that you could want. If you are listening to the sound of my voice and you're a Josh dealer in Southern California, the in-person training dates are coming up. I believe it's the middle or third week of July of this month. So, reach out to your local Josh rep, which I think is by design down here. They can steer you in the right direction. I'm going to be there because I want to learn, I want to do the hands-on training and see what it's all about. But, it's definitely something that you want to be a part of. And it's something that we're going to be putting on up in the Pacific Northwest at some point, just to make sure that we're getting dealers trained as fast as we can.
We're shooting for similar dates, maybe early August, something like that, but we'll either have Bridget or Tyler up here to walk everybody through it. And I don't know, we were looking at some options for like a brew pub or something like that, maybe do a noon to 5 kind of deal with a happy hour at the end. So that's the rough sketch for what we're looking at. So Stay tuned for more details on that when I get them.
Sounds good. And so that's kind of all I got for today. You got anything else you
Okay.
want to bring up here?
No, I mean I've opened up the robe of my personal life and punk rock shows and told you about some good food in Vancouver.
There
We
you
talked
go.
about some industry stuff, talked about a little trip here and there, and ready to see everybody in Denver here in a few short weeks. Like where are we at? Like 8 weeks now or
Man,
something like
it's
that
coming up
until we're there.
fast. Yeah, it's the first weekend in September. So yeah, we're like 6 weeks at most, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Whew, coming fast.
Hang on to your hat.
Oh boy. All right. Well, so for Jayson, I'm Chris, and thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thanks everybody. Take care.